Now, you wouldn't be trying to not do your duty paying the club with
1 round?
1 round.
Please. Do whatever you want.
Yeah, sure, now.
Oh, come on.
The movie kicks off with 3 dudes hunting in the woods. One of them, Dale, decides to go solo, chasing after his target. Just as he's about to take a shot, a massive bald guy shows up out of nowhere and shoves Dale off a cliff. Boom. Instant death. That bald guy? His name's Ryan Verrett, a former cop turned one-man vengeance machine. His family was brutally murdered a while back, and Dale? Yeah, he was one of the culprits. So, Ryan's got this personal revenge mission, and Dale was just another checkmark on his list. After taking care of Dale, Ryan heads to this little town called Hope. Now, Hope's not your typical small town. It's ruled by a ruthless biker gang that even the local sheriff steers clear of. But Ryan? He couldn't care less. He rolls into town like he owns the place. His first stop? A gas station, where he picks up some supplies and asks about a place to crash. The owner, a guy named Kirby, points him to the only motel around. Turns out this motel, run by a young woman named Darcy, is pretty much deserted. Nobody in their right mind visits Hope, and Darcy can't figure out why Ryan would dare to show up. Ryan, being his mysterious self, just says he's got business to handle. Meanwhile, over at the FBI, Special Agent Frank is working on a plan to track down Dale. The guy wasn't just a murderer, he was also a rapist. But before they can do much, another agent bursts in with news. Dale's already dead. Flashback time, we see Ryan back when he was still a cop. He's at a party with his family and friends, having a good time when chaos erupts. A gang of criminals storms in and starts shooting everyone in sight, including Ryan and his family. The mastermind behind this massacre is Drake Santiago, a vicious criminal out for revenge against the cops who once locked him up. Ryan miraculously survives the attack, but his family isn't so lucky. Fast forward to the present, and Ryan's cruising around Hope. He spots a bunch of motorcycles parked outside a building. As he's checking them out, a biker steps outside, annoyed by a barking dog. The guy pulls out a gun, ready to silence the poor animal, but Ryan steps in just in time. And by steps in, I mean he beats the guy to a pulp. The ruckus draws out the rest of the gang, including their leader, none other than Drake Santiago himself. Funny thing is, Drake doesn't recognize Ryan. Makes sense though, the guy's killed so many people that faces probably blur together. Even though Ryan just took down one of his men, Drake lets him off the hook, figuring he's got bigger fish to fry. Still, he's suspicious and tells his younger brother, Rexo, to keep tabs on Ryan. The next day, Rexo reports to Drake about a club owner refusing to pay their so-called security fees. Drake, being the charming guy he is, challenges the club owner to a boxing match. The deal? If the owner wins, he won't have to pay up ever again. But Drake, despite being on the older side, absolutely demolishes the guy in the ring. He lets the man live though because hey, dead men don't pay bills. Extortion isn't the gang's only hustle. They're also deep into the meth business with a whole lab pumping out the goods. Rexo's the one in charge of overseeing the operation. But now he's got double duty, watching the lab and keeping an eye on Ryan. Later that night, Rexo shows up at Darcy's motel looking for Ryan. He's polite at first, but when Darcy refuses to spill the beans, his true colors show. He threatens her, making it clear that bad things will happen if she doesn't cooperate. Lucky for Darcy, Ryan's nearby and hears everything. He steps in, and let's just say Rexo ends up regretting his life choices. Ryan doesn't just beat him up, he teaches him a lesson he'll never forget. Darcy warns Ryan that messing with Rexo is a terrible idea since he's Drake's brother. And Drake? Yeah, he's not the forgiving type. But Ryan doesn't care. He's got his own plans. Ryan drags Rexo over to the gang's meth lab, ties him to a car, and sends the car crashing into the building. The lab goes up in flames, and Rexo? Well, he's not walking away from this one. With the lab destroyed and Rexo out of the picture, Ryan drives off, feeling pretty accomplished. It doesn't take long for Drake and his crew to find out what happened. They rush to the scene, staring at the fiery wreckage. Drake's not just sad, he's furious. Losing his brother has pushed him over the edge, and now he's out for blood. As the gang fumes, the sheriff and one of his deputies arrive to investigate. Drake, still seething, wastes no time in confronting the sheriff. He makes it crystal clear that he's the one running the show in Hope, and the law doesn't scare him. Drake didn't mess around. He straight up threatened the sheriff, saying if he dared to stick his nose in Drake's business, his entire family would pay the price. The sheriff, scared out of his mind, didn't even think about standing up to Drake. He figured letting the gang do their thing was better than risking more bloodshed in the town. Cowardly? Maybe, but he wasn't ready to die. Meanwhile, Ryan was still out there causing havoc. This time, he set his sights on one of the gang's trucks that was on its way to deliver meth to another city. Playing it cool, Ryan tailed the convoy until he had the perfect opportunity to strike. Once the truck stopped, he slashed the tire, forcing the driver out. And when the guy stepped out to check what was wrong, Ryan pounced. He slammed the guy's head into the car door like it was a game, then blew the entire truck to pieces. Word got back to Drake fast. One of his gang members reported the explosion, and let's just say Drake wasn't exactly thrilled. That truck wasn't carrying pocket change. It was loaded with meth worth a fortune. Furious, Drake demanded answers. He was sure it was Ryan behind the chaos, but needed proof. To get it, he had Kirby brought to him. Drake leaned on Kirby, threatening him to dig up everything he could about Ryan. Kirby didn't have the guts to refuse and reluctantly agreed. Kirby wasted no time and started snooping around. He even checked out Ryan's car parked near the motel, hoping to find something useful. But Ryan caught him red-handed. Instead of flipping out, Ryan played it cool, even accepting an invite to Kirby's house for a drink. Of course, Ryan wasn't dumb. He knew Kirby was up to something. Once they were at Kirby's place, Ryan demanded answers, and Kirby spilled the beans about Drake's orders. Just as things were getting interesting, one of Drake's guys, Crab, showed up on his bike, looking for trouble. Crab challenged Ryan, but it didn't take long for Ryan to put him in his place. Even so, Ryan decided to let him go for now. While all this was going on, Drake was digging for info too. He had a little chat with the sheriff, who spilled the details about Ryan's past. Drake learned that Ryan was an ex-cop whose family had been brutally murdered, leading him to quit the force. The sheriff, being spineless, even took a bribe from Drake after giving him the intel. Later that night, things took a dark turn. Drake and his gang paid Kirby an unannounced visit while he was fast asleep. Frustrated with Kirby's failure to get any real info on Ryan, Drake ordered Crab to finish him off. By the next morning, Kirby was dead. Ryan, upon discovering the murder, knew exactly who was behind it. Fueled by anger, he stormed into one of Drake's clubs, took down everyone in his way, and kidnapped Crab. Ryan wasn't playing anymore. He killed Crab and left his body outside Drake's HQ as a message. Drake's rage hit new heights when he saw what Ryan had done. He called all his men, armed them to the teeth, and set out to find Ryan. Back at the motel, Darcy, the owner, heard strange noises outside. Grabbing her shotgun, she got ready for anything. Ryan, already expecting an ambush, told her to hide behind the counter. Sure enough, Drake's men barged in. Ryan waited until they were close, then gave Darcy the signal to kill the lights. In the darkness, all you could hear were gunshots. When the lights came back on, all the gang members were dead, and Ryan hadn't even been scratched. But Ryan knew the motel wasn't safe anymore, so he took Darcy with him to get out of there. Unfortunately, Drake's men were waiting for them outside. They jumped Ryan, beating him until he blacked out. When he came to, he was tied to a chair in the gang's hideout, a ship of all places. Drake was there, smug as ever, and Darcy was tied up nearby. Drake made it clear that both of them were going to die. But before that, he had other plans for Darcy, which made Ryan's blood boil. Drake left one of his goons to torture Ryan, but the ex-cop wasn't about to give up. Using sheer willpower, Ryan broke free from his restraints and turned the tables on his torturer, knocking him out cold. Now free, Ryan went on a mission to find Darcy. He fought his way through Drake's men, taking them out one by one. No matter how hard they tried, none of them stood a chance against him. After searching every corner of the ship, Ryan finally found Darcy tied up and gagged. He freed her, and they started looking for a way off the boat. But Drake wasn't going to let them escape that easily. Ryan told Darcy to run while he stayed behind to face Drake. Before the fight began, Drake admitted that he finally recognized Ryan as the cop whose family he had slaughtered. He had assumed Ryan was long dead, but clearly he was wrong. With that, the showdown began. The two exchanged brutal blows, but Ryan's strength and determination gave him the upper hand. He knocked Drake down, thinking it was over. But Drake wasn't done yet. He grabbed a knife, ready to stab Ryan in the back. Just in time, FBI agent Frank showed up and shot Drake dead. Turns out, the FBI had been watching Drake's gang for a while and chose this moment to swoop in and take them down. Frank decided to let Ryan go, saying the world needed someone like him to take out the trash. With Drake dead and his gang dismantled, Ryan left the town, promising Frank they'd cross paths again someday. In the final scene, Ryan is seen raiding another hideout, taking out more of Drake's associates who had been involved in his family's murder. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to hit that like button, and if you didn't, go ahead and hit the dislike button twice just to be sure. Thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe for more awesome videos.